What's up guys, Foxen here. Let's talk Attack on Titan chapter 114. What fricking happened to Levi and his furry friend the Beast Titan? Or would that be Harry Buddy? Either way, let's have the Attack on Titan chapter 114 follow-up discussion. By the way, if you do love these extra long Attack on Titan videos, do leave a colossal thumbs up and subscribe. Every thumbs up gives Levi a higher chance of surviving. Alright, so I do have to mention something at the beginning about Levi. Once again, there are a billion questions about this dude. However, let me just point out this if you're wondering whether Levi died. For starters, right before Zeke went explosion on Levi's ass, Levi did have his hand on the blade, which just means he did have his hand on the trigger to activate his 3D maneuver gear. Now in the shot of the actual explosion, where did that blade he was holding actually go? Did Levi pull some magic right there? And also just notice Jean's cousin is still alive, at least for the moment. Anyway, I'll just leave you to wonder about that. Next up, let's talk about the Eldians being mysteriously immune to that plague. In the latest chapter, the Beast Titan Tom revealed this about the Eldians. That supposedly 600 years ago, there was this massive plague that wiped out a bunch of people. Keep in mind, this was 600 years ago. If we actually go based on the estimated date of Attack on Titan, which is somewhere in the 1900s, something that I have done a video on before. I mean, just subtract 600 years and you're in the 1300s. Oh, when did the Black Plague actually occur? That was actually in the 1350s. But even if you actually don't do the math, this whole worldwide disease definitely just screamed the Black Plague. If you actually look at some figures for the Black Plague, there were about 50 million estimated deaths, with a whopping 60% of the population wiped out. Holy crap. So I think this event that was talked about was almost definitely this event, or at least a very strong parallel to it. Now, could you imagine how many Eldians were actually alive at this point? I mean, Eldians should have made a good decent chunk of the population at this point. Next up, let's talk about the Founding Titan's power. So two things about this. First off, you found out that the Titan power is able to manipulate the biology of Eldians. In other words, mess with their DNA. Keep in mind that before this, it seemed like the Founding Titan's power was just memory manipulation. However, now it seems like the full story is now this instead. Actually doing this biology science on Eldian bodies. And that memory mind wipe is really just a subproduct of this. So that's the first thing. For the second thing, so you're able to play mad scientist with Eldians. To be honest, this really just screams at potentially how the Ackermen were created. Recall them being this byproduct or subproduct of Titan science. I think most likely this is definitely hinting at it. The real question here remains is that what exactly were they trying to create? Alright, so before getting into your questions, here's the last thing I'll mention, which is really about that ending message in the manga regarding this merciful man taking an Eldian's life. So a lot of people are confused about this, or at the same time using this as evidence that Levi just got wiped out. On the flip side, you got some people saying that it can't be Levi since he's not an Eldian, except that he is. Regardless about whether you interpret Eldian as being a citizen or part of this group, just keep in mind who Levi's father may be, some random Eldian. Either way, Levi is an Eldian. So that's the first part. The second part about this is regarding the actual text. Just keep in mind that this was not included in the official English release of the manga chapter. The question now becomes, why wasn't it there? And just so you know, none of the text is actually at the end of the chapter ever actually makes it into the final manga volumes. Don't quote me on this, but this might be the reason. I have read around in the past how the authors don't actually add this text to the manga in the magazines where they're released. This has more or less actually been confirmed for the weekly Shonen Jump. If you now flip it over to this monthly manga, could it be the case for this too? I mean, I wouldn't place money on it, but I would lean towards yes. In other words, it's not Isayama adding this text, but the magazine adding this vague message just so you come back next month. And it's definitely more needed for a monthly magazine. Anyway, let's get on to your questions. First off, a huge thank you to all Patreon supporters. Soon I will try to be doing this full time. More on that later. So if you can, please really do consider becoming a supporter. Come and join the Fox team. First question up from Patreon supporter Horizon. Does Zeke intend to sterilize all Eldians? Doesn't he need Eren's consent? So, great question. A lot of people are actually wondering about this. In the latest chapter, we now found out that Zeke most likely wants to euthanize or sterilize all the Eldians. However, that does require the Founding Titan's power. On the flip side, of course, the Founding Titan right now is Eren, meaning that even if Eren could activate the Founding Titan power by giving the Beast Titan this big old hug, Eren would actually be the one in control. It was actually a couple of chapters ago that Armin brought this up, that regardless of what the two Yeager brothers are planning, Eren would be the one in control. It really doesn't matter what Zeke wants. So let me go ahead and toss this out. I'm pretty sure that Isayama was pointing that out for a reason. In other words, really just to get the audience and fans thinking. Right now, there's still so much we don't know about the Titan powers, especially the Titan powers when you combine them with one of royal blood. So now the question becomes, what does Zeke know that Eren doesn't? Not too long ago, there was actually the reveal of what happened to Koni's village when the Beast Titan turned all those guys into Titans. They mentioned something about all those Titans being connected to the Beast. So imagine this. Eren and Zeke meet up at the wall. Eren reaches out since he thinks he's about to activate the wall Titans. On the flip side, Zeke, being the sneaky little bastard that he is, shakes his hand, then temporarily connects himself to all Eldians. Maybe due to the Beast Titan or due to the Beast Titan plus his royal blood. At that point, perhaps it's possible to temporarily use the Founding Titan power or some small percentage of it. Or who knows, perhaps even Zeke just being temporarily connected to all Eldians could enable Zeke to sterilize them. That would be crazy, but I think something crazy is coming. Next question up from Kashmir Fox. How old physically is Annie going to be when she gets out of the crystal? Did she age and grow, or is she going to be like Ymir? Oh Annie, where are you? Alright, you're still stuck in the frickin' crystal. So right here, Kashmir Fox is asking a very popular question about Annie. Is the blonde girl aging inside of that crystal? We actually do bring something interesting up with the example of Ymir. Back then, she didn't age inside of that mindless Titan. However, the difference with Annie is that she's a Titan shifter. I do believe that the crystal she's currently in is part of the female Titan's ability. In other words, that being a part of the Titan itself. I mean, when we last left Annie, she was 16. I think just to keep things consistent and not make it weird, I'm placing my money that Isayama is going to age her up. In other words, Annie has been slowly aging. Although there is a possibility that Isayama could just make this weird and keep her at 16. I mean, it wouldn't be that weird, just having that age difference between her and the other people, like the warriors and scouts. Next question up from T. Smith. Will Eren fight Zeke when he finds out what he did to Levi and the other soldiers? To be honest, I really think that this current Eren really had a good idea of what Zeke was capable of. So Eren potentially finding out that Zeke killed Levi and the other soldiers, I don't think that would faze him at all. Almost at all. He might pause like 10 seconds or 5 seconds if he finds out that Levi died. On the flip side, I think Eren right now is really prepared for a lot of people dying just for him to complete his master plan, whatever that may be. Next question up from Distract Enemies. Do you think Porco will find Annie? And is there a strong possibility that Porco will eat her? To be honest, right now, I really don't think the warriors are looking for Annie at all. I mean, if you think about it, the island is super huge. They would really have to get their priorities in order. So just going back to one of the things I've been mentioning, I really strongly believe that Hitch is going to play a part in getting Annie back, potentially leading the warriors or some other people to her. So going back to the question whether Porco's going to find Annie, I really don't think they're even looking for her. Is there a possibility that Porco would eat her? I mean, if they find Annie, what reason does Porco have to eat her? Not to mention that would be extremely disappointing. Annie's much more interesting than freaking Porco. Next question up from Valchrist. Assuming Levi is critically injured, do you think Mikasa will step up and take on what Levi probably can't do as well anymore? So going based on the assumption that Levi is critically injured, really close to death, or in a coma, funny enough, that would actually make Mikasa number 1, humanity's strongest soldier, which would be just by default. Although at this point, she should have been number 2 for a good while. So yes, it's very likely that unfortunately we're not going to get that close matchup of Levi versus Eren. Perhaps Isayama finally took out Levi this way, not necessarily killed him, which is really setting up the ultimate Ackerman battle of the Ackerman versus Eren. Unfortunately, that Ackerman is not going to be Levi, but most likely Mikasa. Alright, so next up, getting into your Twitter questions. If you're thinking these Twitter questions suck, go ahead and follow and definitely send in your question in for next time. By the way, for everyone saying how much you enjoyed the videos, thank you so much. You guys are awesome. First question up from Nia. Hey Foxen, I was wondering, what do you think about the last sentence being about an Eldian's life? We know that Levi is an Ackerman, so he's probably half Eldian, but do you think Isayama is referring to him as one on purpose, or was it about someone else? So really quickly, this was something I addressed earlier in the video. I'm gonna lean on the side that most likely Isayama or his editor did not write that message. However, if Isayama did, the Eldian could be referring to Levi, Zeke, some random person that jumped into the way of the blast, or perhaps some of the stuff that occurred earlier in the chapter. Next question up from Sebastian. Do you think Ymir created the Ackerman clan by changing their bodies and that they were once Eldians? Alright, so getting into some of the Ackerman stuff I mentioned earlier too. Although here's the thing about them. I don't necessarily think that Ymir, the original Ymir, created the Ackerman clan. If we really go based on the events that have been mentioned so far, it really seems like the Ackerman clan came up not too long ago, potentially a few centuries ago. In other words, most likely the founding Titan did create the Ackerman clan somehow, or at least had a hand in creating them. However, that founding Titan was most likely someone from the Fritz family. Next question up from Beaks. Since Levi most likely lost a limb or two, do you think he's gonna get a prosthetic? Maybe have Hanji build it, and take care of him if they somehow got to him. Watch, Levi's gonna come out of the robo with a metal fricking hand. And then people are gonna be saying that Isayama copied fricking Full Metal Alchemist. But really, for this, do I think that Hanji could build him some type of prosthetic? Maybe not necessarily hand. I think they should just replace his hand with like a fricking blade. That could work. On the other hand, right now, Hanji has herself a little bit tied up. So unless Hanji escapes, I really don't think she's gonna get a chance to do that. And then the other question becomes, exactly how injured is Levi? I mean, if this guy got a little bit toasty, he could bounce back. But if this guy got critically injured, a prosthetic isn't really gonna help. Next question up from Mahmoud. What could be Annie's role in this finale? I mean, at this point, that would be the $1,000,000 question. For everyone watching, what do you think Annie's role is gonna be in this finale? I mean, chapter by chapter that we go by without Annie appearing really just means that Annie's not gonna have too much chance to shine in this story. So what could Annie's role in this finale be? At this point, Isayama could just awaken her, then she's gonna be eaten. Or who knows, maybe she'll die in her sleep. Next question up from Fayaz. Does the power of the Attack Titan really give the holder the ability to see the future? And then talking about the Eren Kruger thing. I'm not sure why you think the Attack Titan has that ability. I mean, I really think I should do a video about that whole scene. But very likely, that was most likely something related to the Founding Titan, and not something related to the Attack Titan. Next question up from Vindri. What do you think is the real power of the Beast Titan? So far in the story, you have seen the Beast Titan control Titans, but this isn't necessarily a Beast Titan ability. I'm really betting that other Royal Blood Titans would be able to do the same. On top of this, you have seen the Beast Titan confirmed to be able to get hard too like the other Titans. So what exactly makes this Beast Titan special? Who knows, perhaps the only thing special about the Beast Titan is that he's freaking hairy. I don't necessarily think all these Titans are supposed to have this special battle ability. I mean, a good example is just look at the Cart Titan. By itself, it's really not that useful in battle. Strength-wise, potentially on the level of other mindless Titans or even weaker. Next question up from Johnny. What do you think they will do with Levi's character, since they all know they probably won't reveal it for a couple of chapters? Darn you, Isayama. So what exactly is going to happen to Levi? So just seeing how the events played out, it really seems like Isayama found a way to take out Levi for a good while. Potentially this is just a way to take out Levi's character without actually killing him, since, you know, he makes so much money for them. Or on the flip side, potentially Levi is still gonna die. Let's say that somehow, by some miracle, Levi survived the explosion. In the future, we could see Levi versus Eren, and then tragically, Levi dies. Isayama has actually given an out for this character. I mean, fans could really just point to that injury as to why Levi got taken out. And everyone is really just left to wonder, what would have happened if Levi was at full strength? Next question up from Riona. Does Eren know about the Founding Titan being able to rewrite the composition of bodies of the Eldians? If he does, would he help Levi and let him live? For this, I really doubt that Zeke has told Eren everything, especially stuff about the Founding Titan. The question then becomes, how many people back at Marley actually knew this power about the Founding Titan? Since, if you think back, Eren was at Marley for a good while. Potentially he could have randomly just found this out himself. What would happen if Eren finds out that Zeke is holding out something from him? Which most likely is the case, and most likely is something that Eren is considering. And for the second part, I'm not sure what you mean about letting Levi live. Next question up from Kurohige. If Zeke really kicked the bucket, do you see Historia's kid taking the beast? So, kind of a weird question. I mean, if Zeke would have died, that means the power would have been lost. On the flip side, if Zeke hasn't died, Historia would have to pump out the kid, then he would have to make it a Titan, then lure that thing over to Zeke's body. I mean, can you say mission impossible? Most likely Zeke would die before that even happened. Right now, we don't even know where Historia is at. Next question out from Ancho. When Eren was a kid, he vowed to eliminate every last Titan from the world. So do you think he could be on Zeke's side to eliminate the Titan power from the world? I think if you ask any manga reader at this point, they would definitely say yes to this. Again, this really just goes back to the two brothers going about this in two very different ways. Or at least we're assuming that. Next question up from Speef. I just want to know, which Attack on Titan character do you think is similar to you? And how would you compare yourself to that character? To be honest, almost no character? I don't know, maybe I'll just say Armin, but that was before the time skip. Next question up from Tejas. Do you think that Levi is dead? Nope. Because he promised to kill Zeke, and I can't imagine Isayama ending that promise like that. I mean, are you really saying that you can't imagine Isayama ending the life of someone before they completed their promise? In Attack on Titan? Are we reading the same series? Again, I really don't think Levi died. However, Levi dying or Levi unable to complete his promise about killing Zeke would be very, very in line with Attack on Titan. Next question up from AFE. Do you think Eren knows what deal Ymir made with the devil? Or is he trying to find out? So about Ymir making the deal with the devil, this goes back to one of 3 histories we've been presented with so far. To be honest, I think at this point Eren has a good idea of what the actual truth is, which really goes back to the question about whether this Ymir person even existed. Was there a devil? Was there ever a deal? I think there's definitely yes to some of those, but not yes to all of them. Next question up from Mimi. Why Zeke didn't do his plan in Marley? Are they not connected in the founding Titan body? Is there another plan or condition having to met? So for this, are you asking why Zeke didn't turn into the Beast Titan and then use the founding Titan from Eren's power? So assuming Zeke does have some control over sterilizing Eldians if he does come in contact with the founding Titan, perhaps that could have worked in Marley. On the flip side, that's not exactly Eren's plan, so he had no reason to actually transform into that Titan, or more specifically even try to use the founding Titan power. As far as we know, Eren had no intention to actually use the founding Titan power, which is why he got the WarHammer Titan, which was to give him this other option. Now that that didn't work out, they have to actually use the Wall Colossal Titans. Now this actually goes back to the place where Eren wants to use the founding Titan power, which would be on top of the wall for the demo. Next question up from Samuel. Who do you think will win between Eren and Zeke? Win in what exactly? In a battle? Eren would freaking kick the monkey's ass. But if you're talking about whose plan is going to be coming out on top, most likely I'm going to say maybe neither. Although you have already seen the final shot of Attack on Titan. Right now it's really looking like whatever plan Eren is cooking up is going to be successful. Next question up from Yuju. Will we ever get a reveal of what happens if an Ackerman were to take a Titan syringe? What do you think, Frankenstein or no effect? For this, I really don't think we're ever going to be finding out. I mean, if Isayama actually wants to show what happens, right now using the Titan syringe on Levi's crispy body would be a perfect time. As to what would happen, I don't know, I would say maybe 50-50. It would most likely only matter if they were part Eldian like Levi. I got a feeling that this is one of those topics that Isayama is going to answer way later after the manga's gone. Next question out from Nami. Who is your favorite character in Attack on Titan and why? Oh, you're making me pick a favorite child. To be honest, I don't think I have one favorite. I may have a top 5 or top 10 list. And then who's my favorite character may change day by day or just time by time. For example, ask me tomorrow in the morning, maybe I'll say Levi. In the middle of the day, it'll switch to Mikasa. And by nighttime, maybe it'll be Armin. So I have a bunch of favorites. It really depends on what I'm in the mood for. Next question out from Get Wi-Fi. Do you think it's possible that Zeke died at the exact time that Historia had her baby, making Historia's kid the next Beast Titan? So yes, I think that's exactly what happened. That is, if the series was actually titled Boruto's Dad, or just straight out Boruto. I mean, just think about the possibility of that happening. Can he say a random ass miracle? So that's something I definitely don't see Isayama pulling. Next question up from Rian. How do you think is the next chapter going to move on? So this is actually a better question for the prediction video. But right now I really don't think we're going to find out what exactly happened to Levi. It's been a couple of chapters, so I'm hoping that at least we get a status update on Eren and also what's going on with Mikasa. And really all the other guys in jail. Come on, just release the Wall Colossal Titans already. Next question up from Shivan. Why did Zeke recommend a plan for Historia to have a kid if his ultimate goal is to sterilize the Eldians? So about Zeke recommending a plan. I mean, he did recommend a plan, but at this point we know Zeke just likes to manipulate and use people. So he was really just telling them a possible plan. And at the same time while he was telling them, he really had this alternate main goal in mind in the back of his mind. Next question from Undead Alex. Is it possible at all for Eren and Zeke to do the same thing Boruto's dad and Sasuke did? The whole series fighting each other, but at the end of the series saving the world. I was actually gonna ask, what exactly did those two do? But I guess they saved the world. The ninja world. So I guess if you want to generalize it that much, sure I could see Eren and Zeke doing that. Next question up from Chihab. Do you think if Eren is brainwashed that Zeke could lose control if he's seriously hurt? If so, do you think Levi could become a Titan? Okay, so I'm not sure about the Levi becoming a Titan. How is that related to the previous one? And no, I really don't think Eren is brainwashed. Next question up from Mr. Pioneer. Zeke said his plan was to use the founding Titan to change every Eldian's body composition so they cannot reproduce. Can't he just change them in a way that they couldn't turn into Titans anymore? Alright, so I think a lot of people are actually wondering this. Why doesn't Zeke just do that? I think ultimately that may be the solution to this Titan problem. The thing is, Zeke still thinks really bad about the Eldians. Perhaps influenced by the previous Beast Titan Tom, Zeke really just wishes that these guys never existed. In other words, the Eldians living on, being able to reproduce, but not being able to become Titans. He doesn't want that. He just wants them to be gone. Next question up from Johnny. Is Zeke lying to Eren or is Eren lying to Zeke? Could Zeke have told Eren his true intentions and believe Eren's on board, when in reality Eren's playing Zeke all along? Or is Zeke lying to Eren? To be honest, I think both of them are lying to each other or just not telling the complete truth. Is that a lie? I guess up to you to decide. Either way, at this point, I really have to believe that both of them think that the other one was gonna try to pull something. If Zeke somehow manages to make it out of his current situation, and then tries to backstab Eren, I'm pretty sure that Eren's gonna be ready for it. Next question up from JJ's WWE Asylum. Is it possible that we could get an ending similar to Darling in the Franxx? You mean Titans in Space? Where Eren inherits all 9 Titans and erases the Titans from ever existing in the first place, and everyone is reborn, then we get a scene similar to the new volume's alternate cover. Alright, so after the second part to this, I'm not sure how this relates to Darling in the Franxx. It sounds more like you're going the Steins Gate route. So do I think that's possibly gonna happen? I mean, sure, I think it's possible. Although the thing you're describing seems to be the very happy ending, which I really don't see Isayama doing. Next question out from Snake. Do you think the last panel of Attack on Titan is connected to the name of the first chapter, To You in 200 Years, You Are Free? So about the last panel, I'm not sure that's directly a reference or a connection to the title, but there is definitely going to be some connection or relation somehow. Next question up from Lily March. Do you think the producers will show the scene of Levi losing his limbs in the anime, or replace the scene with something completely different like Levi vs Kenny fight? At this point in the series for the anime, I really don't think they're going to make that drastic of additions. I mean, keep in mind that Isayama was not happy with the Uprising arc, hence the changes. As to whether Levi's potential limb loss is going to be censored, oh hell yes, you could bet your ass on it. It's going to be just covered in smoke, you're not going to be able to see anything. That is, assuming Levi actually lost something. Next question up from Night Raid. The explosion at the end that blew Levi to the sky, what caused it? Oh, right before the Beast Titan got sliced up, he ate this nasty burrito from Taco Bell. Poor Zeke, he just blew up from the gas. Next question up from String. Why do you think Zeke, instead of seeing the potential in his people, would rather see them perish, just like the royal curse? Maybe he knows something about the truth of the Eldian people. So about Zeke knowing a lot more than we know. Right now it's really seeming like that 11 set of intelligence is completely false for Zeke. I mean, we thought he was playing this high level game of chess. That may not even be the case at all. If you really want to wonder why Zeke wants to get rid of all of them, just going based off the events of the latest chapter, he's greatly influenced by the previous Beast Titan's Tom's thoughts on this. I mean, right before he went boom, he freaking mentioned Tom, which really just means the guy is greatly influencing him. Next question up from Really Good Gaming. Who is Levi's king? We learned that the Ackermen could only awaken their power if they imprint on a king. If Levi's king was Erwin, then why did he let him die? So for this question, you're asking about the Ackerbot, who says that Levi's king or bonding partner is still not Erwin. If you think about it, we still don't know the complete story about how this works. Who says that the person even has to be alive? I mean, you even mentioned it yourself, you need the power to awaken. Levi is already awakened. In other words, it really doesn't matter whether Erwin is alive or not. As to why Levi quote-unquote let Erwin die, this is already something you found out from Levi, why he chose Armin instead. Next question up from Mia. Will Mikasa be the next humanity's strongest? So this is actually something else that people have been asking. I think someone asked a variation of this. Right now some people strangely think that Levi actually died. So let's just go based on that assumption for a while. Just say that the strongest Ackerman died and got taken out. By default, Mikasa would be the strongest. However, there's more to this. Assuming that the things we found out about the Ackerman are true, that would mean that even Mikasa would get Levi's power. In other words, Mikasa would go into Super Saiyan Ackerman mode. Next question up from Lagath. Do you think Eren will end up consuming all the 9 Titans and become the next Ymir? So you're bringing up the idea of all the Titans being gathered in one body. I think there's definitely a strong possibility of that happening. Although who says it needs to be Eren? Perhaps it'll be Armin, perhaps it'll be Zeke. Who knows, perhaps it'll even be Flock. Wouldn't people be pissed about that? Next question out from Claw. Since it's most likely that Levi will fall into the river, do you think that instead of losing a limb, he'll lose his memory by hitting his head? If Attack on Titan Junior High shows spoilers, can this be a way of him losing his head? I don't know, to be honest, if Levi just randomly loses his memories, I would think that would be even worse than Levi being put into a freaking coma. It also kinda screams lazy writing for something like Attack on Titan at this point. If we really just see Levi losing his memories, I would really just rather Isayama kill him off instead. Next question up from Pikachu Polka. Who do you think is most likely to die out of the main cast besides Levi and Eren? Ah, Polka with the interesting questions. By the way, that profile picture always makes me smile. So out of the main cast, who is most likely to die? I mean, who's left? There's Mikasa, Armin's gonna bite it, Historia, there's Hanji too. I think we already mentioned the possibility of Historia dying during childbirth. So if I don't count Historia, there's Horseboy too. Ah, how about Koni? I really think Koni's gonna die. I think that way Isayama will bring some closure to him and Sasha dying. Next question up from the female Titan, Annie. Annie, wake up. Do you think Reiner and the rest of the warriors are going to save Annie, or are they waiting for Zeke somewhere? So at this point, I really doubt that the warriors are actively looking for Annie. If they run into Annie, it would be by pure chance. Or if Hitch just randomly turns and leads them towards her. Right now I'm thinking that all of the warriors are going to be back in the hometown. Who knows, potentially Eren's just going to command them to bring Annie back into the sun, and then we'll see what happens. Next question up from the meme queen. We saw Levi literally get blown from the explosion, but what about Zeke? So right now, just making the same expression as Mikasa there. Is this a trick question? I mean, we saw Zeke freaking get blown in half. It was like a freaking watermelon exploding. But if you're actually asking if whether Zeke survived, there's no way the guy died. Next question up from Anya. Do you think it's too soon for Levi to die? Don't get me wrong, it looks impossible for him to survive that explosion up close, but it doesn't look like the death suited for Levi. So quick answer, no, I don't think Levi died. I think there would be so many people beyond disappointed if Levi actually got taken out this way, and Isayama definitely does know it. Next question up from Kevin. Let's be honest, neither Levi or Zeke is gone. Do you think that Eren or Zeke's plan has a legitimate reason to doing this? If so, do you think that if they told Levi their plan, he would put down his blaze? So assuming both of these two did not just go boom, I really doubt that Levi would just let this guy go. I mean, moments ago he wanted to feed freaking Zeke to Historia. The problem with this is that Zeke almost definitely is lying or holding back information. Meanwhile, Levi doesn't know the situation going on with Eren. At this point, Levi can also not trust Eren. So whatever both of these two say, it's most likely not going to be their true intentions anyway. Next question up from Rodrigo. Do you think that something drastic will happen to Levi? I mean, something drastic just happened to Levi. He went boom. Next question up from Let Us Pretend. Do you think that Zeke's actions were justified after learning about his past? So far Zeke backs up his parents and killed so many Eldians. Is that really justified? Let's just say that Zeke does accomplish his goal, which is either 1. Sterilization or the straight out euthanasia. I mean, for either of those options, I don't know how you could claim that either of those two things are justified. Next question up from Ackerwoman17. If Zeke's body is split in half, doesn't that mean his spine broke and he should die? I think someone said in season 2 there's a limit to how much the body could heal. Great videos. So as to whether Zeke died, which again I don't think he died, I don't think they ever specifically clarified how it is that you could kill a Titan. I would assume that if you shoot them in the head, boom, they're gone. That is, if you don't pull a freaking Reiner, you can't kill that cockroach. At this point, we could really just assume that these guys are extremely durable, almost Deadpool-like. But really going back to the thing that you mentioned about season 2, there was an example about Ymir. Ymir lost a leg, part of her stomach, maybe an arm? At that point, it took her a hell of a long time to recover. Now, if you look back to Zeke, I mean, this guy is not dead, but he should be taken out for a good while, if he survived. I don't know, maybe at least a day, 2 days? I think 3 days minimum. Next question up from Vavgul. Do you think Yelena shares Zeke's goals? So for this question, it really depends what you mean by that. Right now, we have a good idea about what Zeke's actual goal is. On the flip side, Yelena mentioned in the past that she really just wanted the destruction of Marley, which to be fair is really not part of what Zeke is after. So as to whether Yelena agrees with what Zeke is doing with the Eldians, I don't think she would mind it. I mean, she is kind of worshipping the dude, the hairy beast. But who knows, maybe Yelena's gonna switch sides over to Eren. Next question up from Kevin. I heard that Isayama previously planned to end Attack on Titan like The Mist, but changed his mind now to make an ending like Guardians of the Galaxy. What do you think he means by that? Alright, so multiple things to this. First off, I have never seen The Mist, so I have no context to that. And the thing about Guardians of the Galaxy, Isayama did mention Guardians of the Galaxy one time, but I'm really sure that he didn't mention he wanted an ending like that. If you actually look at the actual text of Isayama's interviews, I'm talking about in Japanese, Isayama is pretty vague. On top of this, Isayama has mentioned a couple of things regarding the ending. He mentioned Guardians of the Galaxy. At one point he's mentioned how much he's been influenced by Game of Thrones. I think recently he might have mentioned going back to the original ending, and even being influenced by freaking Avengers, the recent one. So at this point, who knows? He's really mentioned going back and forth to every single topic. And now we actually have some idea of what the ending is going to be based off of the last final panel. Which really just means I don't think there's going to be a dance-off for Attack on Titan. The thing about Guardians of the Galaxy, at least the first one, is that they had this message of unity, friendship, and overall this happy ending. I could see some of those elements being in the finale of Attack on Titan, but once again going back to I don't think there's going to be this grand, happily ever after ending for Attack on Titan. Next question up from Kenichi. If Levi died in an explosion, would his body even be found by anyone? So right now we know that Levi's body is flying over to the water. Unfortunately, if he did die, I don't think anyone's going to find his body. Potentially Zeke would just mention it later. Oh, I killed off Levi. It was a totally easy win. Next question up from Nico Doctor. Levi Ackerman is left-handed, my boys. Foxen, your thoughts? Is he left-handed? Have we ever seen him right? Or are you just basing this off of him holding stuff? Either way, I don't know. He likes fapping with his left hand. Good for Levi. Next question up from Crib. Do you think that Zeke looks more and more like Hitler by wanting to exterminate the entire ethnic group and using the excuse of salvation? So for this, I would probably have to check up on my Nazi Hitler history. I mean, just to get into actual specifics. So for this, you actually might be better just Googling and reading the wiki on this. Right now, we are getting even more comparisons to the whole Nazi and Jew situation, which really just means I do have to look deeper into this stuff, eventually myself too. Next question up from the WarHammer Titan. Do you think that Eren knows about Zeke's plan to pity kill? At this point, I'm assuming that Eren doesn't exactly know Zeke's specific plan, but he has some idea. Next question up from Y. Do you remember how Zeke explained that the Ackermen are a byproduct of Titans as well? What if Zeke could also regrow his limbs like Eren did? Come on, are you really asking if the overpowered dude could regrow limbs like a Titan? Unless Levi actually becomes a Titan, then eats someone and becomes a Titan shifter, I don't see that happening. Again, this is something that I'm not even sure other series would do, like Naruto, or I'm not sure what's going on in One Piece. Maybe in Fairy Tail, or what's the other one, Seven Deadly Sins? I could see it in Seven Deadly Sins. Next question up from Koden. Ackermen are basically Titans in human form, but are they one of the 9 Titans of Ymir? It would be cool if they were Attack Titans. Right now, we've only heard that Ackermen are a byproduct or subproduct of Titans. If they are related to one of the 9 Titans, they would be related to the founding Titan, so unfortunately I don't think they're Attack Titans. Next question up from Liz. Who do you speculate to be the father of Historia's baby? In what chapter do you think we'll see Historia again, and possibly the progression of her pregnancy? So for this, we actually haven't gotten any new information about the baby. And to be honest, I don't think the candidates have changed. Either you go with what they told you, which was a farmer dude, or Eren, maybe Jean, maybe Levi, who knows, maybe Armin? And about when we're gonna see Historia again? I got a feeling we're gonna get an update on her just cause potentially Levi was heading in that direction anyway. Who knows, maybe they're gonna hear the blast and then go and check what exactly happened. Next question up from Nikki. What do you think genuinely happened? Do you think Levi actually died or can he survive this? So for both Zeke and Levi, they are definitely alive. If I really have to place money on it, I would say that Levi possibly lost an arm, but the guy's gonna come out of this. Potentially he's only crispy. Next question up from Lord's Death. Do you think the story will continue on in chapter 115? Yes, the Attack on Titan story will continue, unless it doesn't. Next question up from Daskido. Is Levi a virgin? I mean, I don't know, Levi has smashed so many Titans, but most likely yes. Next question up from Kaneki. Do you think Annie's crystal thing stopped the Curse of Ymir thing until she gets out of it? If it does, it would be cool to see an Attack on Titan like after story. So unfortunately, I don't think the crystal thing is halting the Curse of Ymir. Annie's gonna come out of it and she suddenly lost 4 years. I mean, when she had so little left. That's really gonna suck for her. And gonna suck for us when she gets eaten. Last question from Light. Would you like to see Reiner fighting Eren and the Yeagerists alongside the Scouts? I would. I mean, sure, if the story goes in that direction. I think we're gonna see some crazy team-ups in this finale. And just seeing how Isayama slipped in the battle of the Beast Titan versus Levi, I think there still is potential to see a good chunk of more battles in under the 20 chapters that we have left. Either way, I think Isayama's gonna surprise us. I mean, all of these guys are definitely gonna have to team up, especially if they do release the Wall Colossal Titans. Come on, just make it happen. Anyway, I am losing my voice, so if you did enjoy this video, smash that colossal thumbs up and subscribe. You can go ahead and start tweeting me your questions for the next prediction video, which should be in like 2 weeks. By the way, just please do me the favor and send in a different question that wasn't already asked. Or at least ask it in a unique way. I think a good example is the Pikachu Kirby guy. That guy asked some interesting questions. Anyway, post your thoughts or answers to any of the questions asked here, and I'll see you guys later.